I never thought I'd be the kind of woman who hesitates at her own bedroom door. Not because I lost my keys. Not because I forgot something. But because I was afraid. Afraid of what or who might be on the other side. That night, I stood there frozen. My hand rested on the doorknob, and my heart was pounding so loudly I could swear it echoed down the hallway. The silence around me? It was thick. The kind of silence that presses against your ears and makes your thoughts feel louder than they should be. I had no idea that everything in my life was about to change. No warning. No time to prepare. Just a glimpse. A glimpse of something I wasn't meant to see. And it all started with Adam. My stepson. Now, before your mind runs wild, I need you to understand, this isn't the kind of story that's easy to tell. It's not lighthearted. It's not cute. And it sure as hell isn't simple. It's the kind of story that leaves a knot in your stomach. The kind that wakes you up at 3 a.m., sitting in the dark, whispering to yourself, how did I get here? Because I'm not a villain. I didn't plan for this. I didn't ask for this. I was just a woman. A woman who had been lonely for so long, she forgot what it felt like to be seen. And Adam, he saw me. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back. Not to that exact moment. Not yet. But to what led me there, to that door, that hesitation, that choice. Have you ever been in a house that looks perfect from the outside? Nice lawn, clean driveway, flowers on the porch. But inside, it's just people pretending. That was my home. A husband who worked too much. Who talked to me like I was a co-worker. Who hadn't touched me, really touched me, in nearly 2 years. I used to count the days between the times he looked at me. Eventually, I just stopped counting. Then came Adam. 19. Polite. Respectful. Quiet. He moved in after something happened with his mother. I didn't ask, it wasn't my place. But sometimes, there was a look in his eyes. Like he was carrying something heavy too. Funny how broken people can recognize each other, isn't it? Still, I kept my distance. I had to. I was his stepmother. I cooked. Cleaned. Asked about his classes. Stayed in my lane. Until that night. That one moment when I saw something I wasn't meant to see. When I caught Adam in a moment so raw, so personal, I couldn't breathe. And what made it worse? What twisted the knife? It involved me. I wish I could tell you I turned away. I wish I could say I forgot it. That I confronted him. That I walked away. But the truth is messier than that. If you've ever felt truly alone in a house full of people, if you've ever walked past a mirror and not recognized the woman staring back, if you've ever craved a single moment of connection so badly it scared you, then maybe, just maybe, you'll understand how things unfolded the way they did. Before we go further, if you've ever carried a secret that made your chest feel heavy every single day, if you've ever wanted to scream the truth, but didn't know how the world would look at you after, hit that like button. And if you're new here, welcome to Shocking Infidelity Saga, where we share the kinds of stories that make you question everything you thought you knew about love, loyalty, and the human heart. Subscribe. Join our emotionally raw community. We don't judge here. No, let me take you back. To that night. To the hallway. To the silence. To the door I wasn't sure I wanted to open, but did anyway. I used to imagine being a stepmother would feel warm. Like something gentle. Nurturing. Helping someone grow. Offering guidance. Being a soft place to land. But instead, it felt like another task on the to-do list. Get groceries. Do laundry. Check in with Adam. Smile at the dinner table, even when no one was really talking. I'm 38. Been married for 7 years. And for the longest time, I thought I was lucky. Daniel, my husband, he's successful, provides for us. Gave us a nice house, 2 cars, a retirement plan. But he stopped looking at me a long time ago. I don't even think it was personal. I think he just forgot how to touch me like I mattered. How to talk to me without checking his phone mid-sentence. How to sit next to me without feeling like we were just co-workers sharing a break room. He's out of town a lot. Business trips. Conferences. Meetings that become overnights. Sometimes he texts to check in. Sometimes he doesn't. But the worst part, the silence, not peace, but distance. It got worse when Adam moved in. Daniel's son from his first marriage. He wasn't supposed to stay with us. He had his own life, his own rhythm. But something happened with his mother. Something no one wanted to talk about. Next thing I knew, he was moving boxes into the guest room. At first, I didn't know how to feel. He's not my son, but somehow, I felt responsible. So I cooked more. Left notes on the fridge. Asked about his classes. All I got was a shrug. A mumbled, "It's fine." But there was a sadness in him. A weight number 19-year-old should carry. And sometimes I'd catch him watching me. Not in a way that felt wronged. Just different. Like he saw more than what I was pretending to be. And that scared me. Because Daniel didn't really see me anymore. Not who I was beneath the makeup. Not the woman who cried in the shower sometimes, just to feel something. Adam didn't talk much. But his silence, it didn't shut me out. It invited me in. The house didn't help. Big, spotless, cold, nothing out of place. Not even a photo frame turned the wrong way. It looked safe. But it felt like a museum. Like we were actors on a perfect stage. Afraid to touch anything too real. Dinner was the same every night. 3 chairs filled. But the room still felt empty. Daniel on his phone. Adam with his eyes down. Smiling. Asking questions. Clearing dishes. Pretending. And sometimes, just standing at the sink, holding a sponge, staring out the window. Not thinking. Just letting the quiet swallow me whole. I don't know when things began to shift. When Adam stopped feeling like a guest, and started feeling like a mirror. Maybe it was the way he always said thank you after dinner. Or how he noticed if I wore a different necklace. Or parted my hair another way. Or maybe it was just, he saw me. Not the way a man sees a woman. Not yet. But the way a soul sees another one that's quietly breaking. It wasn't love. It wasn't desire. It was recognition. And that kind of attention, it sneaks up on you. It makes you wonder what you've been missing, and what you might do to feel seen again. I never imagined I'd become the kind of woman who hesitates at her own bedroom door, not because I lost my keys, not because I forgot something, but because I was afraid of what, or who, might be on the other side. That night, I stood frozen. My hand was on the doorknob, my heart pounding so loudly I swore it echoed down the hallway. The silence around me was thick, the kind that presses against your ears and makes your thoughts louder than they should be. I didn't know that everything in my life was about to change. No warning. No chance to prepare. Just a glimpse of something I wasn't supposed to see. And it all started with Adam. Adam, my stepson. Now, before your mind jumps to conclusions, I need you to understand, this isn't the kind of story that's easy to tell. It's not lighthearted. It's not romantic. And it sure as hell isn't simple. It's the kind of story that leaves a knot in your stomach. The kind that wakes you up at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, whispering, how did I get here? Because I'm not a villain. I didn't plan for this. I didn't ask for it. I was just a woman. A woman who had been invisible for so long, she forgot what it felt like to be truly seen. And Adam, he saw me. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back. Not to that moment just yet, but to what led me there, to that door, that hesitation, that choice. Have you ever lived in a house that looks perfect from the outside? Manicured lawn, clean driveway, flowers on the porch. But inside, it's just a group of strangers pretending to be a family. That was my home. A husband who worked too much, who spoke to me like a colleague, who hadn't really touched me in almost 2 years. I used to count the number of times he looked at me in a week. Eventually, I stopped counting. Then came Adam. 19. Polite. Respectful. Quiet. He moved in after something happened with his mother, something no one talked about. I didn't ask questions. It wasn't my place. But there was something in his eyes. Like he was carrying something heavy too. Funny, how broken people recognize each other, isn't it? Still, I kept my distance. I had to. I was his stepmother. I cooked. I cleaned. I asked about his classes. Stayed in my lane. Until that night. That one moment when I saw something I was never meant to see. He was in his room. The light from his laptop glowing cold across his face. His body under the blanket, hand moving, back arched, and for a second, I couldn't breathe. But it wasn't what he was doing. It was what he was watching. It was me. An old video. One I barely remembered. A private recording from years ago. Me and Daniel, back when there was still passion. Back when we still touched. I didn't even know that video still existed. I thought it was deleted. But Adam had found it. And he was watching it. Watching me. I didn't move. Didn't make a sound. Just stood there, frozen. Part of me screamed to burst in, grab the laptop, shout. Another part, the part I'm ashamed of, stayed still. I backed away. Slowly. Breath caught in my throat. Hands trembling. The hallway suddenly felt too narrow. The air, too heavy. I slipped back into my room like a ghost. And then I stood there. Heart racing. Mouth dried. Feeling disgusted. Violated. Confused. But also something else. Something I didn't want to name. Because the worst part wasn't that Adam had been watching me. The worst part was how it made me feel. Not scared. Not angry. But seen. Wanted. And I hated myself for that. I was fumbling with the keys when the door opened before I even knocked. Adam. He didn't say anything at first, just reached out and took the heavier bags from my arms, his fingers brushing mine. It was brief, but I felt it. Like a spark, or maybe a question we were both too afraid to ask out loud. He carried the bags into the kitchen and set them down gently, like he was afraid they'd break. Then he looked at me, really looked at me, and said, "You shouldn't have to do all this alone." 6 words. That's all it was. But they stayed with me. Because Daniel never said things like that anymore. Daniel assumed I'd handle everything. Groceries, cooking, cleaning, scheduling, smiling. And somehow, Adam, 19 years old, noticed more than the man I'd been married to for 7 years. After that, our conversations changed. They got deeper. At first, it was just casual little chats in the kitchen about music, or school, or books. But then he started asking me real questions. About myself, my life, about who I was before I married his father. And when I answered, he listened. Not with that distracted, half-nodding glance Daniel gave me from behind a laptop screen. Adam listened with his whole body. Leaned in. Met my eyes. Responded in ways that made me feel known. And I started looking forward to it. To him. One night, Daniel was out of town again. I was sitting in the living room with a glass of wine, an old movie playing softly. Adam walked in, hesitated, then sat down on the other end of the couch. We didn't speak for a while. Just watched in silence. Then the scene changed. The couple on screen kissed, slowly, longingly. I felt my body tense. I didn't look at him. I didn't have to. I could feel the shift in the air. A few minutes later, I reached for the remote. He reached at the same time. Our hands touched. We both paused, just long enough for it to mean something. Then he pulled his hand back. "I'm sorry," he murmured. I shook my head. But I didn't say it was okay. I couldn't. Because it wasn't. And it wasn't. After that, the touches became more frequent. More deliberate. A brush of the hand when he passed me the salt. His arm grazing mine as we stood too close in the hallway. A hand on the small of my back when he stepped aside to let me through a door. Small things. Easy to explain away. But I stopped explaining. Because part of me didn't want them to stop. I found myself seeking him out. Lingering in the kitchen longer, hoping he'd come down. Taking walks in the garden at dusk, knowing he might follow. Leaving my bedroom door cracked, just slightly. And then the note started. The first one was tucked inside a book I left on the couch. Just 5 words, written in messy handwriting. You read more than they see. I stared at it for a long time. The second came a few days later, slid under the sugar bowl on the kitchen counter. You deserve to be felt, not just seen. And then another. If I could rewrite time, I'd start with you. Each note made my chest tighten. Not with guilt, but with ache. Ache for something I couldn't have. Something I shouldn't want. Kept them all. hidden in a drawer beneath old scarves and forgotten birthday cards. But I took them out late at night when the world was quiet, and read them like they were love letters from a past life I'd never lived. One afternoon, I was cleaning the living room when I knocked over Adam's sketchbook. I didn't mean to open it. I was just picking it up, ready to slide it back into the bookshelf. But the page was already open, and there I was, drawn in pencil, soft, detailed, sitting on the edge of my bed, brushing my hair. I remembered that moment. It was just last week. I didn't know he'd been watching. I stared at the sketch, my hand trembling. He had captured something so intimate, so raw. It felt like looking at a version of myself I didn't know existed anymore. Not the tired wife, not the invisible woman, but someone desired. Was I imagining it? Or was he inviting something? I told myself to stay away. That this was dangerous. That this was wrong. That I was playing with fire in a house built from drywood. But I didn't stop. I didn't close the door. I didn't throw the notes away. I didn't erase the sketch. I kept going. One small moment at a time. And deep down, I knew where it was leading. It didn't happen. No excuse could ever make it right. We had crossed a line, not blurred it, shattered it. And I wasn't sure who I was anymore. The morning after, I couldn't look at him. I woke up before the sun, wrapped myself in my robe, and went downstairs like I was trying to outrun what had already happened. The candle had burned out on the table. The couch cushions were still dented. The blanket we used was tossed on the floor. All of it felt too loud, like the room was screaming at me. I made coffee with shaky hands. Didn't even drink it. Just needed something to do. When I heard his footsteps on the stairs, I froze. And when he appeared in the doorway, eyes soft, lips parted like he was about to say something, I looked away. I couldn't handle the hope in his face. Because hope meant he believed something could come from this. And I couldn't let him believe that. He stood there for a moment, waiting. But I kept my back to him, pretending to clean a counter that didn't need cleaning. "Hey," he said gently. "Can we?" "I have a lot to do today," I cut in. My voice sounded wrong. Tight. Clip. He paused. I didn't look at him. I couldn't. "Okay," he said after a moment, quiet and hurt. And then he walked away. I sank onto a stool. Heart pounding. Stomach twisting. What had I done? Every part of me ached. Not just physically, but in this deep, hollow way, like something inside me had cracked open, and now I was trying to shove it shut with shaking hands. For the rest of the day, I avoided him. If I heard him upstairs, I stayed down. If I needed the kitchen, I waited until I couldn't hear movement. I told myself I was protecting him. But the truth was, I was hiding. From him. From myself. From what we did. Later that evening, Daniel came home. His suitcase thudded against the floor. His voice echoed through the house, too normal, too cheerful. It made my skin crawl. He kissed my cheek. I flinched. He noticed. I saw it in the way his smile faltered. But he didn't say anything. Instead, he asked what I made for dinner. I had to force myself through it. Serving plates. Smiling. Pretending everything was the same. But it wasn't. Nothing was. Adam came down last, slower than usual. He didn't meet my eyes. Sat across the table. Barely touched his food. I kept my eyes on my plate the whole time. Daniel tried to talk about his trip. Asked Adam about school. Made jokes that didn't land. None of us laughed. After dinner, Adam disappeared upstairs. Daniel looked at me, his eyes narrowing. "Everything okay?" "Yeah," I said too fast. "Just tired." He didn't press. He never did it. But I could feel it. He sensed something was off. Not enough to accuse me. Just enough to wonder. That night, when Daniel reached for me in bed, I flinched again. Said I had a headache. He rolled over without a word and fell asleep. And I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, hearing the storm inside me now. The next few days were worse. Adam barely spoke to me. His eyes, once full of warmth, were now heavy with confusion. And something else. Betrayal. I'd given him something only to snatch it away. Let him believe there was a doorway, then slammed it shut. He wasn't angry. He wasn't cold. He was just hurt. And it killed me. I tried to erase it, but every room whispered what we did. The couch. The hallway. The staircase. Even the mirror in the bathroom, where I caught my reflection and didn't recognize her. I went through the motions of life like a shadow of myself. The guilt pressed down on me constantly. But so did the ache. The ache of something that felt real, even if it was wrong. I couldn't talk to anyone about it. Not my friends. Not my husband. Not even myself, really. So I wore the guilt like perfume. Close to the skin. Invisible to most. But always there. And Adam, he became quieter. Pulled back. Like he was trying to protect himself from the whiplash of my choices. Or maybe he finally saw me for what I really was. A woman lost in her own emptiness. Desperate for something warm, even if it burned. He wasn't angry. He wasn't cold. He was just hurt. And it killed me. I tried to erase it. But every room whispered what we did. The couch. The hallway. The staircase. Even the mirror in the bathroom, where I caught my reflection and didn't recognize her. I went through the motions of life like a shadow of myself. The guilt pressed down on me constantly. But so did the ache. The ache of something that felt real, even if it was wrong. I couldn't talk to anyone about it. Not my friends. Not my husband. Not even myself, really. So I wore the guilt like perfume. Close to the skin, invisible to most, but always there. And Adam, he became quieter. Pulled back, like he was trying to protect himself from the whiplash of my choices. Or maybe he finally saw me for what I really was, a woman lost in her own emptiness, desperate for something warm, even if it burned. I haven't told anyone this. Not even my therapist. It's lived inside me for so long, pressing against my ribs like a secret trying to claw its way out. But tonight, I needed to let it breathe. Not for forgiveness. Not for redemption. Just to be heard. Because sometimes, the weight of what we carry alone becomes heavier than the sin itself. And I'm tired of carrying this in silence. Was I wrong for what happened? Or was I just human, desperate to be seen, to be touched, to feel something after years of feeling nothing? I still don't know. But I know this. It's easy to say what you do, until you're the one standing in that hallway, hand on the doorknob, heart breaking inside your chest over something you didn't even know you were capable of. Let me know in the comments. Have you ever crossed a line you couldn't uncross? Have you ever looked at yourself in the mirror and wondered, who even am I anymore? What would you have done in my place? And if this story touched something in you, if it made you pause, made you feel, made you remember a version of yourself you buried long ago, then don't keep it to yourself. Like this video. Share it with someone who might be carrying their own invisible weight. And please, subscribe to Shocking Infidelity Saga, where we bring the secrets people don't dare say out loud into the light. Because the truth is, we all have stories we're scared to tell. But maybe, just maybe, the telling is where the healing begins. And if you remember nothing else from tonight, remember this. Loneliness is a dangerous hunger. If you ignore it long enough, if you pretend it doesn't exist, it'll start feeding on whatever is closest, even if it's something forbidden, even if it's something that was never meant to be touched, even if it destroys you. So don't wait to be seen. Speak it. Feel it. Reach. Before the silence eats you.